Hey everybody, Baldoric here. Today we're going to be talking about Gangrel, who is the new Grand Hero Battle unit for Fire Emblem Heroes as of June 2020. We're going to talk about why he is honestly a really good free-to-play option, especially for the colorless daggers. He has a pretty interesting weapon that I think actually is good for all modes. I think it's going to be very useful, especially in AR. But I think it definitely has a lot of viability outside of that too. So let's talk a little bit about why I think he is going to be a really strong unit and what he brings to the table. First, let's go over his weapon. It looks like a lot of text, but most of it is just description. So let's talk about what it does. So on equip, grants res +3. If a penalty is active on the foe, grants attack, speed, defense, res +4 to unit, and deals damage equal to 20% of unit's res during combat. Okay, and then the rest of it is, Dagger 7, what a penalty is, etc. So, if you don't know what that is, it's on the side, but most of us know what those are by now. Let's talk about why that is a great skill. Penalty is really easy to get on foes, especially if you have somebody like an Adversa or Virion on your team that have weapons, or Iago that have weapons that can do a penalty right off the bat. Or you just have things like, pulse smoke, attack smoke, something like that going off that's going to be hitting the enemy team or whoever it is. As long as it's active on the foe, he basically has a free Fury 3 effect and an additional 20% damage coming off of the res, which is really powerful. That's a lot of extra damage because his res stat actually gets pretty decent. So, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and after he does his first attack, he's already inflicting Dagger 7, so even if there wasn't a penalty before, there is on his on the second time he is going to be initiating combat, because he does inflict Dagger 7. So let's take a look at how to really utilize a weapon like this and how to use him. And obviously, the first foremost, everyone's probably going to do it this way, or at least a variant of it, is a Vantage Sweeper for AR Light Season. Why Light Season? Well, the free-to-play option is to have Ear and Peony, which increases his res and speed stat, which means, one, he's going to be doing more damage off of his weapon, because it does 20% more damage based off of res. Two, his speed stat gets increased because of Peony, which is going to be putting him at 50 speed. Not even to mention the benefits he gets from having Peony on the team, from either not just her being a dancer, but her abilities as well. And this is not even counting buffs he will be receiving from units on your team. Big things to look at here. HP is 66, which is pretty good. That gets basically is going to be dodging most panic manners. I believe it got upgraded to 70 now. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I know 65 is usually the cap, but I think it did get upgraded. I don't remember. Miracle, obviously survivability. Using a build like this, you want to make sure that he does have that survivability in case whatever attack he comes in on is going to finish him off. Miracle will sometimes save him as long as you play it right. And depending on who your other allies are, if you have different infantry pulse units on the team, it can come off really easy. Very strong move there. Close counter, obviously, so that he can do the normal Vantage Sweeper build. Pulse Smoke is relatively important. You can attack Smoke here, but Pulse Smoke ensures that he is going to be surviving because specials aren't going off on him. So if you can, Pulse Smoke it. If not, attack Smoke it. You don't need to defense Smoke. His weapon already does that. Fear Stance is to give him that extra attack stat when he is being attacked, because that puts him up to 59, not even counting his weapon buff. With the weapon buff, he is up to 63. And his speed is up to 54, which is already great, not counting ally buffs. So all things considered, and obviously this is with summoner support, but I think if you're going to use him as a Vantage Sweeper, he's going to be your main attacker for the season. I highly recommend using him with summoner support, because it really, really, really makes a difference. Having that extra speed, attack, and everything is going to make sure he gets those extra kills. The extra HP is going to make it so that he can dodge most panic manners. So really powerful there. I think he's a fantastic Vantage Sweeper. The only thing you want to make sure is that you have a way to get that panic off. Whether you have a panic manner on attack, or whether you have units like Aversa, Virion, etc. that have that ability to panic, or put some ability like that onto the foe's team. then he really shines because he's going to be doing 20% extra damage based off his res, and he is going to be getting that free Fury 3 effect, which is great because he gets, 4 to all stats, which will bring him up to a very sizable amount on everything, making him really, honestly, kind of bulky for, an infantry dagger unit. With a high HP stat and a lot of bulky stats, it works really well. And he has a good res stat with you when you combine ear and the buff from it. He goes up to 47 res unbuffed, which, well, buffed by his weapon, but unbuffed from your allies is what I mean. Very powerful unit, good survivability, works fantastic as a vantage sweeper. But we can use him in other modes. So this is an idea I had for a max scoring, well, not max scoring, you could use the, gray dual infantry, but a relatively high scoring version of him in arena. So you have joint hone speed to buff his speed stat on, any phase, so we'll go up to 49 speed. Respectable, not the highest, but it is good. On your turn, though, with a combination of Swift Sparrow 2 and 3, you are getting a ginormous attack speed buff. He's going to be doubling. Ruptured Sky is going to proc most likely in the first combat, which means from then on, with Special Spiral happening, you now have Ruptured Sky every single combat. And if it doesn't kill him the first time, it will kill him the second time because he's going to attack twice. So, and if it's a dragon, Ruptured Sky does even more damage. This build will shred units in arena. I think it's extremely powerful to use something like this. Now, things to consider is that he's not as bulky because I didn't give him the summoner support, and you have to make sure that you do have allies that are going to buff his weaker defensive stats, such as his defense. Because if he does take those hits, he doesn't have the survivability he does in AR, but he is still really strong. The damage output on this unit is insane, especially with Special Spiral going off. As long as you have like a solid support unit with him, or like a good dancer, or just other units that can buff him to the point where he will survive, getting Ruptured Sky off every combat after the first combat, most likely, is going to be extremely powerful, and he's going to be able to shred any unit he is going in on, which is really powerful and is going to help you clean up and get those bonus points when he is a bonus unit. So, powerful build, consider this. There are things you can change here. You don't need to have both Swift Sparrows. This could be like a Darting Blow 4, that does work too, or Flashing Blade can work as well, but it's not as consistent because it will get Special Spiral off a little bit faster, but then after that, you don't really need it because of Special Spiral. So, things to consider. There are other things you could do here. I know a lot of people have been using Wind Sweep with this unit as well. That's an awesome way to build this unit. So just keep that in mind if you can invest to get the Wind Sweep. I chose Special Spiral because it's a little bit more attainable because it is part of the compile list, so something to consider there. Now, a budget build. So, it's a little bit difficult to build this unit on a budget because he definitely benefits from not only merges but high invest skills. However, there are some cool ways you could build him. I did consider building a Vantage build with him, but it doesn't work as well because his stats are pretty low. However, a Fury Desperation build works pretty good. So with Swift Sparrow, he goes up to 53 attack, 45 speed. Not the highest in the game, but will double at lower combats, lower arenas and things like that. Desperation, after he gets like a combat off with Fury 3, he'll be in Desperation range, which means he is going to be doubling even if his speed stat is low, so that's going to be helpful as well. Attack Smoke ensures that he is going to be getting not only his Dagger 7 off, but Attack Smoke making it so that foes are easier to kill, and he will take less damage from them because they're getting that attack -7. Glimmer makes it so that when you do get that double, you are going to have Glimmer and be able to do that extra damage. So it's going to give him more consistent ability to kill things, more damage output, and when he is doubling, he's going to be getting Glimmer most, if not every other combat. So, fairly powerful, even at a low invest. I definitely recommend, if you're going to use this unit, to try to invest in him at least to the free +2 mark. That does help clean up some of his lesser stats. It's not perfect, but it does help. So keep that in mind if you're considering building this unit. But strong unit. You may even want to do something else to buff his res here in that S slot, but I think Swift Sparrow still works better just because it's the more consistent attack stat versus trying to get that bonus 20%, which isn't a huge amount off his res stat anyways. It's more consistent to do Swift Sparrow, typically. Anyways, that about wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. I'm going to be putting out more videos just like this one. When any new heroes come out, I usually talk about them with build videos like this. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time.